Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the NLC 2023 Spring Split Day 2. Middlecott Veteran on the cast. Coming up, a battle will certainly be unique as they are facing off against Nord. What is already a David versus Goliath competition veteran. How does David have any chance here?
I mean, it's a difficult one, right? Because it wasn't even as if Nord were completely stomping from minute one yesterday. The issue is that the moment you had that teleport play coming from WoW on the bot side, the moment that their opponents were not keeping track of the numbers on the map, Nord pretty much won the game at 15 minutes. Instantly, and they carried that all the way through to one of the biggest stomps that we had yesterday. And UniQ, on the other hand, they were on the receiving end of one of those kinds of stomps, right? Their game against Ruddy Esports, they got one kill, one objective, one Drake, one Baron. We need to see more than one of these if they are to stand a chance today against Nord, who we know, they'll take the entire base if you give them anything.
I think that's really the issue that we've got with talking about UniQ coming into this matchup is because of how poor yesterday's game was. We've not really got an idea of the identity of this team, about who is going to be emerging as that big carry that is going to be standing strong for them throughout the split.
I think definitely you can see shades of Antwerp being that kind of carry. I think a lot of the stuff that was happening yesterday in their Ruddy game was no name matching Antwerp as Antwerp was trying to get all of these objectives. He was in fact able kind of to get his Herald, even though it got stolen away. He was able to secure the first Drake. He was ahead of them in that regard. So there is a way that you can see this UniQ team wants to play. The question is if they'll even get it off, right? Because, Nord is a caliber of team to a similar extent to Ruddy, and that didn't go so well for them, right? And as with the Ruddy game, that was a slow set of games that when they exploded, these guys never took their foot off the pedal, right? So Nord have kind of won their game a similar way that Ruddy did, and UniQ were very much on the receiving end of that. So it's a difficult one. I also do want to see what Akabane does in a situation where his opponents haven't just drafted undivable lanes against him. Because when I think about Akabane, the jungler on the Nord side, right, versus Antwerp here, I think of a guy who almost single-mindedly finds the opening where his win cons are and rams it through here. And if you're going to have WoW on something like Jax, as long as he's not against something like Gragas, you have to hope Akabane's going to play to him like he's played to Melanik on previous teams, or like he's played to Kadui on teams like Big. So there's a lot that I want to see here from both the junglers on either side. NLC kind of a jungle-centric region in that regard. Yeah. And I'm hoping Nord get to play against the comp where they're allowed to play the game early, as well as just explode the game in mid.
You can say that, but I feel like UniQ may opt to sort of copy the strategy that was employed against Nord yesterday, because until it stopped working, natives were contesting for a majority of the point with these more neutralizing lanes, and it was once these skirmishes started to happen that you saw the individual prowess of Nord, I guess, come to show a little bit more. But I think if UniQ can find themselves in positions where you're not massively behind in terms of gold, around 15-20 minutes, you're not compositionally disadvantaged at that stage as well, all it takes is a couple of good team fights for you to get a Baron, for you to get a Soul, for you to find yourself in a really strong position up against one of the favorites for the title, honestly, at the end of the day, as we are jumping into draft.
If you want to explode the game like that, though, in those team fights, you definitely want to be the team that has the most veteran presence there. And Fury, Woolite, Kasing, our mainstays, Woolite, Kasing have former EULCS experience. It's not a misspelling. It was still called EULCS when these guys were in it, right? So we are talking very experienced players who are going to understand these situations and going to be like, wow, we need you bot lane now, come over here and let's just win this fight, right? So let's see if maybe UniQ, all right, we need to switch some of these names around, not quite sure which team I'm looking at here. Maybe UniQ can try to do something about that But again, like, the guys that they're looking at is Antwer, and the guy that guy is against is Akabane. And Akabane, I've seen this guy play. Very aggressive ganking jungler. We're not talking about these fancy schmancy neutral objectives now. This guy's going to hyper focus on lane and kill it. I'm surprised to not see Gragas Kaysonte bans, because
Yes.
I'd expect you to still want to be playing to WoW. He's not going to get that Jax. I have to assume with the Jax ban that is definitely unique on the left there.
Yep.
So without the Jax, what are they going to do here then? Are they going to go for the Fiora, or are they going to switch playstyle entirely? And it looks like it may be Woolite's time to shine. Maybe a Lucian Nami composition could be here. They've obviously taken the Lucian in response to the Nami first pick. They want to deny that. Are you going to pair this with something aggressive and just play heavy around bot? Vi, definitely a champion I think about when I think about Akabane. He loves these skirmish fighters and very good at ganks, right? Very good ganking champion. And something there already that I think he would love to be ganking non-stop.
I think when I was casting the LFL last year, I think the Vi was the champion that I did associate with Akaban the most. There was this beautiful play where he gets like a dive onto a Sivir, and just before her spell shield would block the Vi ultimate, pops the smite down so the ultimate can still go through. So not only is he strong at the champion, but he's also aware of some of the more niche scenarios that you need to be aware of. I am interested to see, though, what that Lucian ends up being paired with, because traditionally it has kind of been the Nami or nothing. May introduce a little bit of spice. The Sejuani for Antwer, I think a bit more standard than the Jinzhao that we saw from him yesterday. And Ezreal going to be paired up with Nami. Okay.
Ooh, Bard being hovered now. I don't like Bard with something like Lucian, though, because basically after level 1, you are completely useless. And I don't want... In lane, to clarify, in lane you are useless, but not anywhere else. I don't really want to pair that with the Lucian. The Yuumi, on the other hand, actually a very good trading champion in the early levels. If you're against something like the Ezreal, this can absolutely work. I actually do like the idea of a Lucian Yuumi lane into a Nami Ezreal lane. If you're able to play heavy to that bot lane and deny Ezreal these priority backs early, it's very difficult for them to play out. You don't want to be that Ezreal that can only get a tier and a sheen by and have no actual AD in your auto attacks, especially not against the Lucian. So very aggressive bot lane being picked here. Yes, the Yuumi can be played aggressively. You get reduced to like 50 HP on the Yuumi, guess what? You just go into your AD carry and you're all good. You're still in the fight. You can afford to take a lot of losing trades as Yuumi early and turn them into winning ones. So I like this setup here. And this also begs the question, what becomes of WoW in this game then? Unless you're going to switch this Lucian towards topside, I guess we're playing away from him here. And, you know, might be some people in the chat who were expecting a bit more of a WoW-centric game here. I'm gonna be real. But look at these bans coming out. The Tryndamere being removed, the Irelia being removed. WoW is definitely being thought about when it comes to this next pick. I guess we're looking at counter pick mid for Nord and potentially a blind top for WoW. With the Darius out, I'm thinking Kaysonte is still up. And if you want to play to bot and still enable WoW to have an impact in this game, Kaysonte has to be that champion, right? It seems dominant in everyone's hands. And WoW is the kind of player who's able to make dominant plays, even on that Jax yesterday when he was falling a bit behind.
Ooh, but Kaysonte has not been banned, so this is almost saying to me that UniQ are like, okay, well, pick what you want and we'll lock in the Kaysonte, try and survive a little bit more on the top side. This is an Olaf being locked in.
Olaf Yuumi. If this Olaf reaches one item and goes mid-game and gets paired with this Yuumi, it's basically unstoppable. And UniQ are looking to match it with a carry of some kind. The Fiora and the Yone both being hovered here. We're gonna know the top laner after this, the Camille even. But Olaf, he can win those early, right? But now as Akabane, what are you gonna do, right? Akabane, he loves to have these aggressive laners. He's definitely thinking back to his Berlin International Gaming days now. We had Kadui, who always played these Kallistas, these Tristanas, these all-in bot lanes, and Melanic, who was like, just lock me Quinn, right? He's definitely thinking back to those times. How's he gonna juggle two heavily aggressive sides? And the coach was also thinking about that, and the Zillion is being hovered here. Imagine that Zillion pairing with the Olaf, with the Yuumi, and also makes it so mid enables those ganks on the sides.
I think this is just Kasing being Kasing, unfortunately. I think he does love to have that pick. And I think the Silas for Fury, it makes a lot more sense, though, Veteran, if you consider the players on your screen and what we've seen them do. And actually now we've got a couple of champions here in the Olaf and now in that Silas being locked in that are absolutely brilliant champions to pair up with the Yuumi once the laning phase is over.
For sure, for sure. Like, Yuumi can pair onto any of these and it's brilliant. Just the big question is, how are they going to play out this early game? You have so many lanes that you want to play for, lanes that are actually vulnerable if you leave them on their own, but if you play with them, can be incredibly strong. You have a Wink on top, you have a Wink on bot. Akabane's the kid in a candy store right now, but the issue is that one of these candies can become poison really fast if you don't pay much attention to them. So Akabane's the man that I really want to watch here. Let's see the choice between WoW and Will-I Kasing, what actually happens.
I think I'm quite intrigued as to how Antwer is going to respond as well, because the Sejuani is a different beast to the Xin Zhao. With Xin Zhao, you're very much, when you are in the fight, you are in the fight, but Sejuani can stand a little bit further back throughout the ultimate from range, and then only really start getting involved when she commits with the Arctic Assault. So I think he's got a little bit more safety, and there's a little bit less onus on him to make massive things happen in the early stages, because you talk about how later on you've got some good carries on the side of Nord. You've got some great carries on the side of UniQ as well.
You do. You have the Camille, you have the Akali, you have so many things that I think is just going to be really painful to them to witness Olaf just absolutely steamroll through on one item, as if the champion's never been hit with a nerf since beta. And that's ultimately the ticking time bomb we're looking here, right? Mid-game, this champion explodes. Yes, he'll scale off a little bit later on, but you even have the Yuumi to try to make that last as long as humanly possible, right? So, as confident as they can be with these kinds of carries, you're waiting until 6 before the Akali's really going to start harming the Silas, and honestly, level 1 onwards, this Camille is already under threat on that top side. So, what are you thinking about doing here? Maybe, if I'm thinking about all of the lanes objectively, this is a bot to top game for Akabane, because you can't really accelerate through the Ezreal Nami like you can through the Camille on top side, for example. So you almost have to match them towards top side, because whereas you may have so many options as Nord, UniQ only really have one. Play with those potentially heavy damaging carries. If you don't, this Ezreal will be useless anyway. And if you only play towards Ezreal, and the other lanes end up falling behind, he ain't gonna stall the game. So you have to go to top, and therefore Nord, I think, should match them. And so we probably see a WoW-centric game here, and see what he can do on that Olaf against this Camille.
A WoW-centric game, Veteran. I'm sure there are a couple of people in chat that are going to be very happy about that, as we are here. Game 3, UniQ up against Nord. This is going to be a tough one for the blue side team, but they've equipped themselves with a couple of win conditions. Nord have got a couple of win conditions for themselves. Nothing too crazy at the level 1, although Woolites and co. thinking about a late invade. No, just a ward on the red buff.
Yeah, this indicates to me that they are expecting to be left alone on bot side in the early phases of the game. Then they want to know when the enemy jungler is doing her buff on bot side, so they know how safe they are to make certain choices with their trades. What's quite surprising for me is this Sejuani starting top. Now, we did just see Sej versus Vi being won in the early by avoiding the early Vi skirmish, by being ahead of her on the map. So here, what you could potentially see is the Sejuani go off of this level 2 into an immediate gank on towards the Olaf to try to fix the top wave there. But if Sejuani simply goes top to bot, and this Vi goes bot to top, then I definitely favor Nord's openers here.
And you could see on the minimap that WoW was even considering the possibility of early aggression from Antwer towards the top lane, because he was just sitting in that river bush, aware that the Sejuani could come for him at a moment, but didn't end up coming to pass, and we are just going to be seeing Antwer going top to bot as Fury with a pretty aggressive trade onto pull.
Very aggressive trade, but he has ultimately gotten the wave in, and so the trade has worked out in his favor. Carly can't just tank all of the HP here, or Silas is just going to all in her with the Vi and get a free kill and get the crash anyway. But crucially, as the Olaf there early, yes, he was pausing, but you have to do that there when Camille isn't showing up. If Camille is leashing and you start pushing, then Camille doesn't ever have to play against you, because she's just going to sit back at tower and let the wave that you've pushed in finally crash. So well played there by WoW. Antwer, though, he wants to make his presence known.
Yeah, smart gank into the mid lane, gets the flash out of Fury, who, credit to him, like, not waiting to use a summoner, just going, it's a Sejuani, it's an Akali, they could probably kill me if they lock me down on this gank, I just got to get out of there as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I think it was a mistake by Fury to be up there like that. It looked to me like the wave was bouncing heavily back into him. But it is good for Sejuani to try to be on the map earlier than Vi can be, allowing Vi to do her 5 clear, and doing similar to what we saw last game, ganking a camp ahead of when the Vi is looking to match. Good call by him. That was an advantage that he'll try to play through on 6, so on the 5:30 wave in 2 minutes. So expect Sejuani to be mid lane in 2 minutes and try to do something else. WoW, though, on top side, full combat summoners. Again, make it quite risky to go top to bot from Antwer there. Getting the recall has an item advantage. Let's see if they can prevent Camille just matching that recall, because if so, Camille's stuck there against an Olaf with full combat sums with a full advantage. Let's trying to make a play onto Woolite and Kasing there, but they're not falling for it. These guys can't be baited that easily.
But both junglers are being very, very patient. Akabane pulling the trigger in the mid lane, looking for Paul, who's in the Shroud. I believe Summoner's burnt from Woolite. Yes, no flash available for him in response to Antwer's gank, and Sarah actually using the flash of his own as well.
Yeah, Fury's going to be stuck here a little bit longer. He does know how long it would take for Sejuani to get to him, though. Kind of worked out for Paul. The damage that they did ended up pushing the wave into him, so he doesn't have to fight Fury here. WoW on top side has prevented Camille going in, so let's see, he could maybe freeze her out here. What he wants to do is fin the wave before he goes to something like that. It looks pretty advantageous so long as he can get the 5. He has gotten the 5. Camille needs this wave to go in. WoW needs to decide if he wants to go for the play here or not.
Oh,
He's going for it. Oh, he has the freeze. Now Nihilus has to stay here. Sejuani must come up and help, because otherwise, on the next wave, Olaf's gonna be 6 with items. Camille's decided she don't want none of that. She's going to accept that she loses some CS here and recalls. WoW is in full control of top lane, and he doesn't even have a teleport.
You just got to take the L sometimes, because going up against a level 6 Olaf with the Ghost, with the Flash, when the wave is that far away from the safety of your own tower, even on a champion as mobile as the Camille, still not a good idea.
Yeah. Looks to me like Antwer was not in a position to go up there and break the freeze. Maybe they didn't have knowledge on the Vi and thought they couldn't win the 2v2. Quite rightly, in that state you can't. Looks like Antwer peeling off of his race that he begun. They think they spy a potential opening in mid. Remember, the Flash is still down from the play, and we were talking about that level 6. But looks like Fury being too high up, so now they're instead going to try to make the play on towards Woolite and Kasing.
Talking about flashes being down, currently isn't one for the Lucian, but I feel like we're like, yeah, he sniffs this one out, spots Antwer, who's going to be forced to run away. Akabane using this as a opportunity to get a little bit of an ingress into the top side jungle of UniQ, but Nias, a little bit too high HP to go for the dive.
But both Fury and Woolite and Kasing, of course, so Kasing's kind of just along for the ride on this champion, made the choice to just take the L, lose a couple of minions to make sure Antwer can't get anything, while Akabane secures top. The choice is clearly being made here. The Olaf is what we're going to pivot the game around, right? And the rest of the map is accommodating it. We've talked a little bit about how other teams, like Natives, for example, are sometimes seconds off on their synchronicity. Maybe not everybody is on board with the correct plan at the same time. Nord aren't showing any of that. This is the discipline of experienced individuals and the trust that they're putting into this rookie top laner WoW, who's only a substitute for K-Corp. is quite astonishing, and they're playing around him very well. Looks like the first 2v2 of the game is about to happen. Level advantage on WoW.
Yeah, Antwer's coming, but yeah, he's not going to be there in time. That's first blood to the Olaf, and with the Conqueror, he stays alive after the dive. I think they're going again. Akabane is going to start it off with the tank. A couple of tower shots will take him out, but that is massive for the Nord top laner.
Absolutely huge, and Akabane there crucially took aggro with his Q over the wall into the ultimate. He took aggro from the tower because the wave hadn't crashed yet, and because he did that, Olaf was able to get those kills without that threat. Look here, right? Olaf should die, but because Akabane's taking aggro, Olaf can now flash in and get the execute without getting full tower aggro on him. The Conqueror does keep him alive through the damage of the other two, but Akabane plays that really well. WoW is now ahead on this Olaf, and there's so many things to be scared about right now if you're Unique. The whole horror scenario I was painting earlier with how Olaf is in mid-game, it's true, ladies and gentlemen. Go watch any Olaf game to see how true it is. Some of you Olaf mains, maybe you're a bit in denial, but you are that goddamn strong in mid-game, right? And WoW is well on his way to doing that.
Yeah, he's reminding me of a certain other French top laner, who we shall not name, but yeah, I'm really worried for what this game looks like when Kasing gets out of bot lane and starts making his way on top of this Olaf, because it is incredibly difficult to deal with that combo, and it's not like Unique have got any sort of terrain creation that can really lock the Olaf down. If he's running at them, he's not going to stop.
No, he's not going to whatsoever, and you know, they're not even fully reliant on him right now. Oh, but wow. He's feeling his advantage. He's showing.
Is he just going to go for this? He's diving under the tower. One more undertow. The ultimate.
Oh, close.
But he will fall down in the end. Neas claims the kill back. Bit over-aggressive from WoW.
Claims the kill back, but bear in mind with the advantage WoW has, he is closer to his first item than Nelis is. They're both very expensive first items. Whoever finishes that first is ultimately the guy that's going to absolutely stomp the lane. So trading even in kills there is still going to be somewhat of an advantage for WoW, considering that he puts all of the gold in towards getting that first item. He has stacked it into a tier 2 boots. That could potentially be an error. If he trades even again on the next one, that could be Camille sat there on a Divine Sundra, on a Trinity Force Wiz. WoW might not even have his first item finished there. It's all about that race to the first item that WoW has to win.
He's been doing a pretty good job so far. You see, we're like returning to the lane. Has not had quite as much impact in the first 10 minutes as we're used to seeing Lucian's doing. Obviously, not being paired up with an army kills a lot of the strength of that champion. I'm intrigued to see how he goes about interacting in this game when he doesn't have that support at his side.
It's actually quite incredible, to be honest, because you see this lineup, you see Fury, you see Willite, you see Kasing, you immediately think these are the guys we're going to be talking about, but they've been sideshows to a team that is absolutely pivoting themselves around their rookie top laner, right? And there are a couple of ways that you can think about integrating rookie players. Some teams just give them a role, you're fetching the water for the big kids, you know? But then you have other teams, right? Like Fnatic, when they wanted to integrate with... Ooh, well, like, found an opening and went in for it, though. Very close. But Fnatic, when they look to integrate Bwipo as a top laner, they didn't do that. They didn't say, Bwipo, just be a little bit of a dog for us, alright, bark when we tell you to bark, jump when we tell you to jump. They had him on Sion, sure, but they pivoted the whole game around him. 3-man ganks top over and over and over again. And that put him in a comfortable state where he ended up being one of the most well-respected top laners in the league. Doing this approach with WoW will make WoW more comfortable over time, right? He knows the team's willing to play around him, he knows that they trust him, so he's going to be more confident of a player, and so he'll develop better. I actually approve of doing this, even though a lot of people wouldn't necessarily expect that on the experienced team, you put all of the onus on the inexperienced guy. But look, Fury can take the hits from any NLC player, Willite can take the hits from any of them. Whole time we're talking, that's what's been happening, and WoW is just allowed to continue to grow this lead. 40 CS difference right now.
Oh, Syra, no flash. The exhaust use, that was actually a brilliant tide away from Pedersen, but it's not enough to keep his AD carry alive. Like with a load of damage, doesn't even need the fish laney to help him out, as Akabane and Fury in the mid lane getting a fair chunk of damage down. That Herald still available in the inventory of the Nord jungler, but choosing not to use it just yet.
You want to talk about first items, you have to spend on the tier and on the sheen, and those are good, but you only have one item there that helps you with your auto attacks, whereas all of Lucian's helps him with all of his abilities. Ezreal just curves too slowly to have expected to win against a 2v2 like Lucian Yuumi, and Woolike Singh are going to recognize those instances, right? Even if they're not being camped by Vi here, they're going to know when they can just win the 2v2. And wow, I mean, he sees everyone else on the map here, he knows he's alone there, and anytime he's alone with this Camille, he's letting her know, alright? He's letting Nihilus know, okay? Buddy, you don't want to be alone with me here. I see your team there, alright? They ain't with you, they ain't here to help, alright? Mummy's not here to cry with, alright? Come face me like a man right now. And Camille already back in base, already reset again, and the lead continues to grow for this Viking in the top lane.
Well, I mean, you can see it from Neos. He has decided that top lane is no longer the best place for him to go. Dragon in a minute and 15 seconds, and honestly, I kind of agree with the sentiment, right? 1v1ing against WoW is just going to result in a losing game, so I think trying to make a few plays with the rest of your team may be smart.
Yes, for sure. I mean, especially with teleport up, yes, you can't make TP flanks anymore, but you can make a play here and then teleport to your turret. So a 5-man on Woolite is.
Woolite is absolutely screwed. 5 members of UniQ hunting for his blood, and they will claim the kill on his cat as well. That is going to give first tower gold to WoW, who is not stopping in the top lane, got more structures on his mind. Does he get a replay of that dive?
You mean like carpentry, right? You know, like they nicely got the self-tapping screw in, you know, it was built really, really well there. And yeah, like it was a very, very good 5-man play from them bot side. It was the only thing they could do. Did WoW get those 2 plates top and first tower? Yes, he did. But yes, he was going to get that anyway. Let's be real. So let's try to get something somewhere else. You can't deal with this guy right now, so deal with his team. And the rest of his team has been neglected, obviously neglected, a little bit because they are able to take the hits and play passively when they need to play passively, but try playing passive against 5 people, that just ain't gonna work. So good adaptation by UniQ. They're showing that they are able to stand up to some of these top tier teams. Not all their games are just going to be a stomp like yesterday, but we're at 15 minutes. That's when Nord broke open the game last time, and that's when UniQ lost. And Pedersen is down at that exact point.
Yeah, look, WoW has joined the rest of his team, and they are causing lots of problems for UniQ. A double kill for the Olaf. It's started to get a little bit silly now, veteran.
I mean, look at the 2 on the back there. He's ready for 3 more of those kills, right? Like, we were talking immediately when that happened about how this is the exact time where UniQ lost the game to Ruddy yesterday and where Nord brought their game back against natives and just started stomping. And immediately, 2 kills with the Olaf. Obviously more in a group scenario, but this Olaf's absolutely unstoppable. He's well on his way to 2 items. He's well on his way to the point where he doesn't even need a team, right? He's just going to be a threat entirely on his own. Nihilus isn't even level 11 yet. Olaf could turn around and just take this fight if he wanted to. His ult's up very soon.
They choose to use it around this Rift Herald as Nord take down the Drake. UniQ try and respond with a play onto Shelly, but the enemy team there just in time. Not choosing to make a move towards the Herald as, well, actually going over the wall. The Herald went so low, but it still goes in favor of UniQ.
Oh no!
Yuumi not on the Olaf as he is diving in on a killing spree. 2 kills already in favor of Nord as Fury is going to find Paul and look to hunt him down. Neos running for the hills, but gets punched in the face and taken out. Nord are turning the screws. They are turning UniQ into corpses as Paul will not escape from Fury's fury.
You have to think that that's the game right there. First 5-on-5 they leverage their advantages very well. Honestly, like, we've talked a lot about how the game's pivoted around WoW, but for me, the big thing here is Akabane has been phenomenal the whole time. He's been ahead on all of these contests. He played around WoW so well in the early game. He was able to set up his team for success. WoW's carrying through with that advantage very, very well for sure, but Akabane was such a huge part of getting the team there. So you look at the team with Fury, Woolike, Singh, and honestly, it's their compatriots that we're looking at to carry this game, and honestly, their plays there cemented it. You said the Yuumi wasn't on the Olaf, and I was kind of surprised because this Olaf was healing on my screen, but that's just how much damage he does right now, paired with that Conqueror, getting him back up before the Yuumi even touches him. Phenomenal stuff.
Oh no, Antwer, you can't stand there, buddy! Cease and desist, Woolite with a 3rd kill for himself, and yeah, whilst it has been about WoW and definitely been valid reasons for giving him all the praise that he has done this game. It's not just him. There are other members of Nord that have been playing very, very well. And as well as UniQ responded in the sort of first 15 minutes and tried to keep it competitive, they're now feeling the ramifications of that top lane lead for the Olaf and started to lose more and more on other parts of the map.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Woolite was able to find those instances in bot lane with Kasing where he's able to get those 2v2 kills off. Fury has really been showing Paul, who is the dominant figure here. The whole team has played very, very well. Just the game plan obviously accentuates one particular person on the team, and that game plan's been carried out by Akabane. So those two are going to be the ones that we rightfully highlight, I think, for the game's eventual victory. I say eventual, but you know, maybe UniQ can find a way to clap back. This Ezreal, once he gets to like 4 items, is going to be really powerful here, and he's halfway there, right? Sedge is useful.
Just get to
Actually,
4
not
items.
into Olaf, but you know, he's useful, you know. Actually, not really here, to be honest. Actually, this is quite a difficult game.
Yeah. Veteran's slowly realising the dire spot that UniQ are in, and I'm sure that they've more than aware at this point. Oh, sorry, you cannot do that. You cannot stand in mid lane like this. There's so much engaged potential from Nord, and 2 health bars are off the screen in the blink of an eye. Neas and Antwer just want to be in their own jungle, but they are not allowed. The Sejuani forced away and taken down. Nord rampaging.
Dude, Akabane's target selection in these fights is actually phenomenal, by the way. Like, his reactions to the changing circumstances around him is actually insane. He's so good on this Vi. Like, he feels like a Vi one-trick playing Vi right now, I'm not gonna lie. Not just in terms of net movements early, but every single one of his fights, his situational awareness is so on point, you'd think he was born playing this champion right now. Very impressed with him. WoW wasn't even involved in that fight, right? Like, at the very end, he came in to get a couple of hits on the Sedge, but the fight was over well before that, and a lot of it was down to Akabane again.
A 22-minute Baron to top it off. We've had some stompy games today, Veteran. I'm really hoping this doesn't set the trend for our remaining game at the end of this evening in the NLC as a whole, but we have seen some strong performances from teams that did fall down yesterday, and I'm sure that even for teams like UniQ, who have a really rough schedule ahead of them, they're always going to be looking for opportunities to grow and improve and learn from the mistakes.
I mean, UniQ's 5-man play on bot side was pretty well done, right? And it's good that they recognize that. They just have to recognize those kinds of opportunities earlier. It really felt like they didn't have an answer after the initial errors on top side, right? It really felt like they didn't know what they were doing. And a lot of that is because Lucian and Silas were happy to just take the L's on certain waves to allow Akabane to extend to do what he did and allow WoW to just, you know, absolutely dominate the top lane here, to be honest. There's no real other word for it.
It's been a difficult game to watch. It's been a difficult game to play for UniQ, but it looks like it is nearly over. They're going for one last Hail Mary 5v5 play in the bottom lane. They've caught out Fury. He's on 40% HP, but they've burnt a lot of cooldowns for that chunk of HP. The Yumi's going to be able to heal him right back up, and UniQ there going to be forced away. They have to deal with the other lanes. That is the longest Vion I've seen in my life. Akabane hunting onto Syra, and WoW will get the kill, because of course he does. It's a double for the Olaf, 3 in total for Nord, and there is nothing that UniQ can do to stop Nord from going 2-0.
I mean, UniQ had much more life in this game than they did yesterday. There are things they can take away from this, but ultimately, what are Nord going to take away from it? Jungle gap, into top gap, into what looks honestly like a free win for them. Nord ends the first week in a dominating fashion, with 2 of their rookiest members being 2 of their biggest threats.
22.5 minutes. Veteran.
Yep.
If UniQ were hoping for a game that was a little bit more gentle on them than their performance against Ruddy yesterday, well, I've got news for you guys. That one was even more brutal.
Yeah, that one was even faster. Technically, there were more kills, but, you know, that was a game that seemed even until it wasn't. There's a 7-minute gap between when they exploded that team fight around the Herald area and when they won the game. 7 minutes is all it took for Nord to take your big error and, you know, punish you in your Nexus with it, right? And yeah, I mean, Twitch chat has it completely correct here. It was jungle gap into top gap into a game over, right? They did not, once again, they ran this marathon all the way into the enemy Nexus, right? There's a clear top and bottom half of the league right now.
So I guess the question becomes, Veteran, if we're saying it was jungle gap into top gap, we're having discussions around MVP. Which one of those do you feel like is more impactful this game?
I feel like Akabane for me was the most impactful on this one. But it's between him and WoW in both these games, by the way. Like yesterday, WoW did not have a brilliant laning phase against that Gragas. There weren't many openings. And Akabane couldn't find many openings yesterday, but WoW's teleport towards bot lane was literally what exploded the game for them. And this game, the advantages that Akabane was able to get him in top lane, I mean, you saw how he was using it, right? So, WoW's still a brilliant player. I think Akabane overall, though, like, every minute of this game, he was so useful to his team. And there are other members of Nord. Hats off to the other members of Nord.
Yes.
You know, I think they've done something at some point. For enabling these 2 players to pop off the way that they did, right? Their discipline is what allowed these extensions to happen. There are other teams where this may not even work at all.
Yeah, that's true. And I think I like your point about how the MVP's been kind of contentious between WoW and Akabane both days. So I feel like WoW got it yesterday. I feel like Akabane today, I feel like that's just fair and it makes sense. And I feel like it also reflects the level of play that we've seen from both of these guys, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, these are the 2 that we're talking about because these are the guys that put the whole team on their back, and they're not even the experienced ones. They are not the guys with EULCS experience. They're not the guys with full-on EUM experience. I mean, Akabane does have, but they're not the guys with multiple EUM experience like their compadres are, but they are the guys that are carrying, right? And I'm very excited to see what this team does, because there's an argument to be made that therefore, this isn't even their final form.
Yeah. I think that's the really exciting thing, right? If you can play towards the player that you'd assume would be least integrated into the team, least comfortable, has got the least experience. If you can play to him and it works as well as it has been doing, I'm really scared to see what happens when Akabane decides, you know what, I'm going to gank mid lane 4 times this game. I'm going to completely cap for Woolite and just spoon feed as many kills as I can into this guy's mouth. And I think that makes Nord a really sort of intimidating team going up against for a lot of teams to go up against, because they've shown this really, really strong style of playing towards top side, but you know that there are other options there.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, yesterday's game showed that even when they can't play to any particular side at all, they're just going to play out these team fights and best you there.
And so, I guess for every glorious victory, there is a defeat, unfortunately, for UniQ. 0-2. It's not been a great start from them. Are there any positives, Veteran, that we feel like we can take from this game for UniQ?
I mean, yes, they were able to get that map play trade executed for them. but it was only once, right? This is definitely still a jungle-centric team. It's just that there are a lot of good junglers in the NLC right now, and it's difficult for them to get that style off, because especially jungle can only do so much when lanes end up going like this. And I think you need to play a bit less for like full-on efficient jungling, and do be willing to make those plays, like in the first clear, where he did the play on towards Fury by skipping a camp, right? Or that 5-man play to bot, where you just kind of accept you're going to lose the top tier tower over it. Let's think about which places we can trade for which other places, and be more committed to that every single stage of the game. Once they're more consistent, they'll start doing a lot more post 15 minutes, and they'll start taking these wins.
Yeah, I think that's a solid game plan, veteran, as we are now joined by Woolite, the AD carry for the victorious Nord Esports, who, a bit of a quiet game for yourself, but you're 2-0. How are you feeling, man?
Just chilling with Yumi on both sides, getting ganked a lot, but when I see what's happening in jungle and top department, I don't care, I'm laughing, so I can play like this.
Yeah. Very much a case of like you're being AD carry and the rest of your team is sort of winning around you, and your job is like, okay, I just got to stay chill, and I know that these guys have got it on lock, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, we got 2v2 Bolo again, so let's keep it up for every game. If we can do it, keep it going, you know, kill 2v2 every game, I would be happy with my performance.
Obviously, you're against some inexperienced bot lanes compared to you guys in the NLC, but one would assume that because of that, and because of that gap that you have against them, that we'd be playing towards you and Kasing's lane. But instead, what we saw today was obviously you and Kasing were happy to take the L sometimes, Inferior's happy to take the L, and instead it was the most rookie members of your team that you were allowing to kind of put the whole game on their back with WoW and Akabane. Is that like a way to try to integrate them, or is it that you just have so much faith in their skills, or what is it about that top side that makes experienced players like you willing to just take the L and play the dog role for a bit?
I think it's good to play both sides, be able to play both sides basically, and I think the best way for implementing a rookie like WoW is to give him confidence, to give him the champions he plays. Obviously we are abusing the dirty champion pool, and he needs the attention of the jungler, you know, to play those champs. But yeah, I think he will learn in a much faster way, playing around him as well. He will learn how to play with elite. Like, imagine we start playing around him in playoffs, maybe he might not be able to translate the lead into the win sometimes. But even after even versus those weaker teams, I think it's perfect practice for everyone, for us, you know, playing weak side as well. We can learn maybe not to die on this one window that they did, even though I was mind blown that they. I mean, it's not worth it, right, for them, and I knew it's not worth it. But this is the thing versus like weaker teams; they will still like do it, and I didn't want to die. I wanted to keep going without any death, so that's sad. But KDA is still fine, right? Like 1 death or 0 deaths is the same KDA.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't die a second time for the entire split, you're going to be absolutely fine, mate.
Yeah, it should be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, fully agree with you on how to like integrate the players. I think it's really good when they give tops confidence like that. We're talking a bit on broadcast about how like that's how Fnatic integrated Whippo, right? They played to him instead of away from him. So I think it's really good that you're trusting them, and you know, I hope it works out for the rest of the split.
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 matches were on the easier side, I would say, so let's not get too confident in ourselves. The scrims were not going that well. So yeah,
It's just scrims.
I mean,
they always lie.
I mean, some people have official game buff, you know, like they play better, and I think it is happening in our team for sure. But I would prefer to also do the same, you know, in scrims versus the opponents. Obviously, we are screaming like LFL teams and much stronger teams, so it's not gonna be that easy. But yeah, my goal is not only dominating NLC, but going to EMEA Masters. So yeah, and dominating that. I hope I can get the trophy for NLC, but let's take things step by step, okay? Because this is not a free walk in the park, I would say.
I think that's an absolutely excellent mindset for yourself to have, obviously keeping half an eye on those further wider European competitions as we get a little bit later into the split. But just winning each game and making sure that you only stay on one death for the rest of the split, I think a little bit more important for the time being. Well, Woolite, thank you very much for joining us for the interview. Congratulations on for the win for yourself today, and I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon, mate.
Thank you guys for the interview. Merci beaucoup to all the WoW French fans and my fans. I think I have a lot of French fans from LFL coming in here. So I'm happy I see such support. And Polska Górą to my Polish fans. Yeah, tune into my stream tomorrow. It will be fun ride in solo queue because I cannot play Champions Queue sadly because of the region, but I'm gonna be... well, I'm just gonna focus on personal development, and that's how I treat this year for me, you know? I think I can always take something out of that. Okay, thank you for the interview.
That's what to do. We'll see you later, mate. Thank you. Right, and now we are going to be joined by Antwer, the jungler for UniQ. Unfortunately, not able to get the win today, guys. 0-2 week for yourself. Just going to be brutally honest here. We looked at the schedule coming into the split and we're like, crikey, UniQ have got it really, really difficult. How are you guys feeling after your first 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a tough couple of games. We've been playing some really strong opponents and we haven't had that much time to practice. So the game yesterday was definitely really frustrating. Today, I thought we found some more things to play for. We tried to make things happen, but our opponents were definitely better today.
Yeah, but it happens, right? And I think the big difference from yesterday's game to today's game is that there was a bit more of that proactivity for you guys, and there were a lot of those attempts to make the plays, even if you weren't able to grab the win in the end.
Yeah, I think they played a really strong game towards the top side. They had a good game plan. And we thought about it, we tried to counter it, make some cross-map things, but they played really well and made it happen.
So I got 2 questions. First off, when it comes to your team's identity, right? Obviously a team you just played against playing very heavily around their top side, taking deals everywhere else. But your team, what we've seen so far, you seem to be quite a dominating force on the team. But it's difficult to tell when the games kind of slip away the way that they are doing right now. How would you say your team plays in terms of identity? Are you really the kind of pivot point for that team? Or do you think it's somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, we have some like individually really strong players. And we are trying to make it work with all the timings. And on the map, for sure, a lot of things originate from me. And during these last games, there's been a bit of I've been hesitant about some calls. Like you can see from the previous game with most of the Herald fight, Herald Eye, the Baron steal. It's just been like a tiny moments of hesitancy. Yeah, however you say it. And sure. It really made or break our games, kind of. But for our identity, yeah, I mean, we try to play a lot for the boss side right now, and try to figure out what draft works for us. And
gotcha.
It's pretty tough, but I think we're making progress, definitely.
I agree on that. And my second very important question: what is the name of that cat?
The cat? Is there a cat in the picture?
Yes,
and
we can hear it the whole time, by the way. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can hear it the whole time. I saw it there, and it's been meowing the whole time.
Hold on.
on
Multiple cats, Antwer. You didn't tell us this.
I actually have 3 cats, surprisingly.
3 cats?
Ooh. Have we
got
got any that are in camera range? Who have we got here?
He's looking at it right now. Look.
Oh.
This is a girl, Luna.
What's her name?
Luna.
Luna.
Nice cat.
Oh.
She's a bit shy, but and she also has some neurological damage, I think. But she lives a very happy. And then we have 2 other cats, but they're probably running around fighting right now. So.
Yeah. Nice.
Make sure, Antwer, mate. Next time we talk to you. Well, first of all, it's going to be a winners interview, so jot that down.
Definitely.
Also, I want all the cats in the frame, okay? Because it's just very important to me on a personal level.
I can try to make it work, but
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. Well, thank you very much for joining us, mate. I obviously understand rough time for you guys at UniQ at the moment, but I think general consensus is you guys making moves in the right direction, and hopefully we're going to see that winner's interview sooner rather than later, mate.
Yeah, sounds great.
Cool. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you later. Right, veteran. I love that, man. I love that. We're just like chatting with that guy. He's been really lovely, and then he's got cats. Like, what's the downside, man?
He has motivation right there, right? If he's ever
That's
losing
true.
it, turns around to Luna and is like, nah, do it for her. Alright? Do it for Luna. Luna wants you to succeed, Antwerp. Remember that, okay?
I can see that happening. I can see that happening. But before the final game of this evening, our match of the day between Ruddy and Riddle Esports, we are going to be jumping to a very short break. So don't go anywhere. Don't touch that browser. Game 4, game of the day, coming up in a few minutes.